Viewer discretion is advised.
Russian billionaire Mikhail Prokhorov is one of the first post-Soviet era billionaires to emerge from the ashes of the fallen empire. In 1995, he bought Norilsk Nickel, one of Russia's largest smelting operations, for pennies on the dollar in a rigged auction. He was handpicked by the former leaders to become a billionaire and then ousted Jay-Z to now own one of the shittiest franchises in the league, which he is now selling. Yo, Brooklyn! You used to play in North Jersey, which is painful enough, and you had a rapper move your team to Brooklyn, where the team is given about as much attention as gamers give the Wii U. You blew a 26-point lead to the Celtics, and when you were in Jersey, you did make back-to-back finals where you got swept out the building by the Lakers, and the Spurs used you like a dish rag in 6 games, and you haven't been any good since, since you gave all that money to Joe Johnson. And Jason Kidd did this bullshit to get a timeout. Bush League. The Mayor Billy King. Thank you for trading away the Nets' entire future and casting them into horrible mediocrity so that we could continue to make millions of dollars while we transitioned into our assisted living facilities. Signed, Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. This game was a mismatch from the beginning, as Houston had 8 players in double digits, led by Rudy T's 28 points. The Rockets had Hall of Famers Moses Malone, Rick Barry, and Calvin Murphy on their squad, while the Nets started Bernard King before his knee was made of plastic. But there are 4 teams that do not have mascots: the Knicks, the Nets, the Warriors, and the Lakers. The soon-to-be basketball-only venue features the Oculus, a Halo-type open-air structure at the entrance of the building which has a curved LCD screen. The Nets actually have their own lighting system for their games, which is designed to create a halo effect on the court, but cannot hide the fact that they paid Joe Johnson all that money.
Booker turned it over. 11th net turnover. Wiggins with the finish off the feet.
They called him Casper the Friendly Ghost.
And he's been an absolute joke, just like the Brooklyn Nets.
Are we on the same page finally? Am I getting on him too much right now, Ryan?
No, you're getting
I need more, man.
Because it doesn't matter where you go, Nets, if you have a product that just makes you cringe, no one is going to come.
The introduction to this lolcow begins in the summer of 2010. The New Jersey Nets are a basement dweller in the NBA once again. They made the NBA Finals 2 years in a row earlier in the decade, but were bitch-slapped both times they were there. A half-decade later, there is little hope. The only records they broke last season involved losing and failure. All they have in the pipeline is Devin Harris and a rookie center named Brook Lopez. After speculation that the team will be sold, fans get a glimmer of light. Enter the Russian, Mikhail Prokhorov, a billionaire who made his fortune in the former Soviet Union. He desires to build a great team. He wants his new toy to be the best that there ever was, that all the other rich kids in town will be jealous of. There will be no stops taken. The Nets are going to be the biggest thing in the Big Apple. A brand new stadium in Brooklyn, home to a perennial champion. The constant failure of the Nets will be a thing of the past. But he needs a wingman. He needs someone who understands this foreign domain and can make him a champion. Enter the huckster. Throughout the 2000s, Billy King was considered to be one of the most incompetent GMs in basketball. The ways that he constantly ran the 76ers into the ground have to be seen to be believed. Ridiculous albatross contracts handed out like candy. The prime of Allen Iverson completely wasted under the guise of supporting him, and then trading him to Denver for scraps. Mention his name throughout Philadelphia, and there will be scorn and vitriol out of the mouths of every fan. But Prokhorov either didn't know or care about his previous tenure. King was able to sweet-talk the Russian into bringing him on as GM. He has full power to do what needs to be done, and Prokhorov will just write the checks. Everyone deserves a second chance. For now, though, they need to build an empire. When Billy King was GM of the 76ers, he never took no for an answer. He would do anything in his power to get what he wanted, the future be damned. With the Nets, he took that thinking to a higher echelon. First up, a great power forward. Ship off Courtney Lee and bring in Troy Murphy from the Pacers. He is sure to bring the team success. He's doing completely terribly, you say. No big deal, they can just ship him off for pennies on the dollar. They have an even bigger fish to catch. Brooklyn's version of AI, Darren Williams. Devin Harris is a mere scrub compared to Darren and his greatness. It may have cost them Harris, the 3rd overall pick Derek Favors, and 2 future firsts, but he will lead the Nets to glory. They are already on the right track. They improved in win totals in 2011. But there's still something missing. They overpaid to get Gerald Wallace at the deadline in 2012, but they are still a bad team. They need more firepower. That summer, they got their wingman, Joe Johnson. Sure, it took a king's ransom of players and draft picks to get him, and his contract is terrible, but now surely this will be the piece that puts the Nets over the top. Prokhorov demands a winner, especially with the move to Brooklyn, and it succeeded. The Nets finally made the playoffs again with their revamped roster, only to lose in 7 games to the Chicago Bulls. These moves obviously weren't enough. The Nets need bigger pieces to get over the top. Billy King needs the trade. Every great team has one. Scottie Pippen to the Bulls, Clyde Drexler to the Rockets. Let us not forget the time that Kevin Garnett was traded to the Celtics. In fact, the Celtics are on the downswing and are willing to play ball with Billy King. The huckster finally has the trade. It may have cost them a lot of their depth and a shitload of future draft picks, but the Nets will be so good in the future that they will have little value. They now boast Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Jason Terry. These 35-year-old men will lead Brooklyn to glory like they did for Boston in 2008. You're saying trading everything for 35-year-old men only leaves the Nets with a very small window of success? Get out of here with that crazy talk. Jason Terry completely sucked with the Nets, but that's just one piece of the deal. Pierce and Garnett may be rapidly declining, but they led Brooklyn to the 2nd round of the playoffs. The future is sure to be bright when they get dick stomped by the Miami Heat. Well, shit. Don't worry, though, they still have their great core. They can get free agents to come to Brooklyn and win championships for our great Russian. You're saying that Paul Pierce defected to play for the Wizards, and Coach Jason Kidd fucked off to Milwaukee, and they couldn't sign anyone worth a damn in free agency. Sure, you could be panicking for the Nets right now, but there's no need to worry. They still made the playoffs the next year as the 8th seed. They are sure to. The Nets got routed by the Hawks. Well, they can still attract those marquee free agents, right? Yep, they're fucked. After several years of playoff contention, the wheels completely fell off of the Nets organization. Who knew that completely selling the future for entities like Darren Williams, Joe Johnson, and a smattering of past their prime 35-year-old men would have dire consequences? Come 2015, everything was starting to be disassembled. Kevin Garnett was traded. Joe Johnson was eventually bought out of his albatross of a contract. Darren Williams, the vanishing act who was all but assistant GM in title, was also bought out of his contract. He would have such a great experience in Brooklyn that he nearly retired from the sport itself. The huckster and new head coach Lionel Hollins were taken out back and shot by the Nets in January of 2016, but the fires were already at 5-alarm stages. Billy King's tenure was his reign with the Sixers amped to 11. Once again, there is no hope. The Nets, with no top prospects and no elite free agents that were promised to the fans, are a dumpster fire. The only players worth a damn on the team anymore are Brook Lopez and something called a Bojan Bogdanovic. You're saying he's gone now. At least you have Linsanity, right? It's only 5 years late. This is a team so abysmal that they didn't get consecutive wins until March. But at least there's some silver lining, you say. With all of this losing, they're in a position to get Markelle Fultz or Lonzo Ball in the draft. One problem with that thinking, the Celtics have that chance. They can swap picks thanks to that great trade for their old men. At least they get a pick. Last year, they had a top 3 pick. It went to the Celtics. You know who gets it next year? The Celtics, with no protections whatsoever. Sam Hinkie only wishes that he could completely fleece a team like Danny Ainge did to the Nets. It's the basketball version of the Herschel Walker trade. If Boston wins a championship soon, they should just build a statue of Billy King. In fact, the Hucksters' moves had disastrous repercussions. That first-round pick they gave up for Gerald Wallace, it turned into Damian Lillard. A first-round pick given up for Darren Williams, the Jazz drafted Enes Kanter. Even that throwaway second-round pick to trade Troy Murphy to the Warriors, that became Draymond Green. If incompetence were a statistic, Billy King would be the GOAT. Now, though, there is disaster in his wake. I want to make a Kickstarter to fund Brook Lopez's exodus from this godforsaken hellhole and have him join a real team for once in his career. I think a starting caliber player like him at least deserves that, not to rot on the courts of Barclays Center. He will probably be well past his prime before Brooklyn is a playoff contender in any way, shape, or form. Nets fans were promised great riches beyond their wildest dreams. What they got was misery and pain for years to come. The Russian wanted gold, and he got pyrite. Brooklyn dreams were shattered once again.